All right. Well, you guys, thank you so much for taking your time out of your night this evening. I am super pumped to be with you. If you don't know what you're here for, you are here because somebody who is here that invited you loves you enough to be concerned about your gut health. And I am here because God just kind of put me in a position where I was searching for something and God knew this is what I needed. And I just didn't even know it myself when I first got started. So I will start out with my introduction. My name is Julia. I am a senior gold plexus ambassador. I've been with Plexus now for about a year and a half. But I've been a nurse for over 20 years, worked at the hospital in the inpatient and critical care setting. And you know, coming to Plexus was quite a journey for me because as a nurse in medicine, I have always loved nutrition and supplementation just because I know with our American diets, we just don't get a whole lot of like real good nutrition in our food anymore, unless you spend a lot of money, or even sometimes when you spend a lot of money, you still can't always get all the nutrition that you need. And so my husband, to back up just a smidge, I mean, it's been quite a few years, but when he was a little boy, he actually had cancer. And so when he was cancer, he his family underwent some massive changes in their diets, right? We know in the medical community that cancer is fed off of inflammation and sugar. And that was something that his family were taught whenever they got his diagnosis with cancer. So he spent a lot of his life really appreciating his life for what it was and taking very good care of it. And so here I come along, coming from a family who loves their pastas and potatoes. And I knew that he was very special. And I knew that if I was going to be with him for a long time, that I needed to change my eating habits. And so I really started to pay a lot closer attention in educating myself on nutrition. And so when I went into nursing school, I remember loving their nutrition class. But nursing school, you learn a lot about the human body, but not necessarily as much about nutrition. So when I got into medicine, and medicine being a lot more of the clinical areas of what's your problem, what medicine do we have to fix it, and that was really all I knew. I knew some of the stuff that I self-taught myself, but I didn't know as much as I have learned in the last couple of years, I'll tell you that much, which has been a huge blessing. So fast forward a little bit through the last couple of years. So COVID, as many and all of you know, hit our communities very hard. And I really think something that my husband and I have talked about for years is how the United States, though our healthcare used to be so good, we still had the highest ranking amount of unhealthy and obese and overweight people in our world. And so coming from a community where I knew at least that much, I knew the weight loss wasn't, I knew that kind of stuff was a concern. But when COVID came around and I found myself working a lot of extra hours, I found myself exhausted. And I was going for the first initial thing I could think of, which was something, in my opinion, which was a healthier option. But it was the little flavor packs that you add into your water that are full of aspartame. And so I was drinking those a lot. And then my husband was drinking a lot of Monsters. And I came to a point through COVID, and just feeling really cruddy because I was working a lot of hours. I was really tired. I was really frustrated from some of the stuff that I had seen in the hospitals. I vividly remember kind of a turning point in my career when I went to the head of our department, two physicians that run our department, and I went out to them and I sought out help because I was so frustrated and sad because we had patients after patients coming up to the hospital with COVID. They weren't dying. They had colds. They were scared to death. And they were coming to the medical community for help and education. And we were literally sending them away saying, you're not sick enough, go home. And so it was a very frustrating time because we weren't giving them helpful information. We were just telling them, you're not sick enough, go home. And so when I asked them specifically if we could hand out education, like literally print off education and hand it out, their answer to me was, well, what would you put on it, Julia? And so I was like, I got this, right? I know exactly what I put on it. I'm like, I'll put hydration. Hydration is huge key in immune system. You have to make sure you're drinking plenty of water. You have to make sure you're moving, right? When you're sick, you may feel like crap. Rest and move. Rest and move. You can tell them that there are different cold medicines they can take. And then I started listing, plus they need to be sure they're taking their vitamin C, their vitamin Z, and their zinc. And the moment I started to mention them taking their vitamins, they shut off and they're like, nope, we can't hand that out to people. And I'm like, why not? And they said, because none of that stuff's ever been proven to help anybody. And I will never forget that, because that was the point in time where I remember thinking, my community needs help more than any of them, because they're the ones leading these people and they don't know how the body even works to be able to help them. And at that point in time is really when I started to search out what I can do instead of being part of the problem to try to be part of the solution. And so fast forward just a couple months, Cassie put out a thing saying, hey, we're doing this energy challenge. And at that point in time, I had gotten to the where my heartburn, which I had taken heartburn medicine at that point for about 7 years, since my second child was in utero. And I was taking it to the point where my heartburn was so bad, I was needing to take it twice a day instead of just once a day. And so it hit me, and I told my husband, I said, here's the deal. I know the energy drinks we're drinking are not doing us any favors. So if we're going to take energy drinks, at least let us look at what Cassie has and see if it's something that's at least going to be better for us, right? And so I did a little bit of research. I actually used her products for about 3 days. And in the midst of that 3 days, I felt amazing and could tell a huge difference. Now, hear me when I say this. This is with the energy stuff. This is not with the gut health stuff, okay? And I'll get into that a little bit here in a minute. But with the energy stuff, I could see a very big shift in a very short period of time. And I was like, this works. And I finally told my husband, literally on the end of day 2 of taking the supplements, if I feel this good in 2 days, I would really like to see how well I feel in a month. Because what was happening was, and if any of you've ever worked nights, you know that the first day off, you literally spend a lot of it on your couch, especially if you have kids, and you just try to watch and make sure they're not going to harm themselves while you lay on the couch and try not to do anything because you're so exhausted. So that first day, I actually had enough energy to like interact with my kid and not be overly tired. But I initially was like, I think this has got to be like a placebo effect. Let's give it another day and see how that goes. So the second day comes around and I'm actually able to help her with homework without getting real irritated with her, which was huge for me. I remember thinking, I really am not hungry or craving sweets, which to me was a huge shift for me. I spent my life addicted to sugar, and that was a really big light switch that went off in my head when I felt so well and felt like I was in control after just 2 days. So I contacted Cassie and I said, listen, I love these products that I'm taking so far. I would like to see what a month looks like, but there's no way that I can add even additional $50 to my budget. I said, so what do I have to do in order to get it to where I don't have, like, I can make enough money that I don't have to worry about adding more to my family's budget because I can't afford to do that. And so she's like, well, just do what I tell you to do. And I'm like, okay. I was just like, sure, you tell me what to do. So I started the gut health, and she even said, she's like, well, that's not gut health stuff, but we can start you on the gut health and then you can still get the other stuff if you want to. And I said, okay. So fast forward a month, I went to Cassie, tricked me. If any of you know Cassie, she tricked me. She wanted me to go to a Super Saturday event. As a nurse, knowing all of my people that were working nights and feeling so much better in 2 days, I knew that a lot of people that I worked with needed these supplements. And I was so curious to figure out what in the world was in them that made them work so well. And so I looked at the calendar. I was like, I don't know, Cassie, it looks like it's supposed to snow. Cassie's like, oh, it's only supposed to be a trace here. And I was like, oh, okay. I'll go. So I went, it snowed 7 inches. Let me just throw that out there. Not a trace, but I sat there and listened. And what's funny is I cannot tell you at all what the training was over. What changed my life that night was listening to all of the testimonies of people talking about diseases and life processes, disease processes and sicknesses that I had always been trained in my general medical profession to think that they were dependent on medication to make them better for the rest of their lives. And here I was listening to people who had ulcerative colitis, which is not curable in the form of medicine. It is bandaged with medicine. And here I was talking to people who had a diagnosis, who had pictures of their ulcers that have been completely cleared and completely off medication. That doesn't happen in medicine. The other thing I listened to is somebody whose child had massive bowel issues from birth that struggled for years until she started her child on these supplements. And within a year, her GI doctors had completely released her from all problems. I also sat there and listened to a friend of mine now who had thyroid issues that was able to come completely off of their thyroid medication. And if that wasn't enough, Cassie's, her, what do I want to say? Her testimony in itself of having endometriosis and being completely in remission from endometriosis just by taking these supplements just blew my mind. And here's what I want to tell you guys. With gut health, what medicine is missing, and I'm telling you this from 100% experience, our physicians, it's not that they don't want to help people. It's the fact that in medicine, they're not taught to appreciate how the body's actually made. They're taught to notice when the body is sick and what medications goes with that sickness and what medication is connected to the disease process to help fix the symptoms. They are not taught what different things that your body needs in order to get better. I'm a very firm believer, and I have been my whole life of medicine and nursing and that sort of thing, that medication should be appreciated for a short period of time until you can figure out what the root cause of the problem is, and then address that root cause, and then make them better, and then slowly wean them off of medications if possible. Now, here's the deal. With medications, I'm not by any means encouraging you to just come off your medications. It has to be done with a physician's approval, okay? But there is hope. If that is all you hear me say tonight, there is hope, because what medicine doesn't always know is nutrition and how it works in the body. And from a nursing standpoint and a medical standpoint, I know that if I go to the store to get a vitamin, let's use vitamin D. I like to use that one because everybody's very familiar with vitamin D. But what a lot of people don't realize is vitamin D, it doesn't actually absorb in your system unless you pair it with a good fat. If you don't pair it with a good fat, because the vitamin D attaches itself to the fat, and that is what moves it into your bloodstream and your system. If you don't pair it with a good vitamin D, you're going to pee it out. And I know that. Not everybody knows that. The beauty behind the products that Plexus has, my one and foundational product that whenever I have customers come to me and clients, that I always start them on is the triplex. Our triplex system is composed of 3 different things. There is a probiotic, a prebiotic, and then a supplement called BioCleanse that helps to cleanse the system in the sense of pulling out inflammation and toxins. It is not a cleanse like everybody always kind of freaks out by that name. It is not one that you're going to take and you have to sit by the toilet. It doesn't do that to your system. And if you are having that reaction, talk to the person who started you on it, because we need to step you down off of it a little bit. And that is okay. That's normal. It can also be detox, which is something that should be very much appreciated in your body, because it's a sign that you're doing something healthy. But with those 3, we have, and in my opinion, it's the most beautiful medical system as our board that helps come up with all of these supplements. You have nutritionalists, you have dietitians, you have naturopaths, you have herbalists. I couldn't think of the word. You have and medical doctors. Like, would it not be a beautiful world if all of those people in our world talked to each other and worked together? Like, I don't know if people realize what a beautiful system that is, but because of that, I honestly think that is why Plexus has hit it out of the ballpark with their supplements and why they work so powerfully, because they have come together and created supplements that have all the things that are beneficial for us in just a couple supplements, put them together in one thing. And that is why we see people who are healing from diseases that they've had their entire lives. That is the perfect trifecta of giving your body nutrition and your body noticing it and appreciating it and starting to heal itself. So with your gut system, and I don't know if you know this or not, but 90% of your serotonin levels are created in your gut. So if you think about that, it doesn't make, I mean, I feel like it's not a surprise to hear and think about all of the mental health struggles that we have in our country, right? Our guts and our food that we feed ourselves is terrible. And we don't appreciate or understand the gut very well. And so to know that 90% of your serotonin levels are created in your gut, you also have over 70% of your immune system that's created in your gut. And so those two are a huge, huge part of health in general. And so if you don't currently have a system in place that you are cleansing your gut, you're feeding your gut, and you're feeding the probiotics that you put in that gut, you are not going to get the type of effects from your normal regimen that you would with Plexus. The other thing that I always like people to remember is whenever you're talking about healing, it's not a magic pill. It's something that takes time. And it is 100% the same way as it is with your medicines and your doctors. If you start on a medication at your doctor's office and it needs to get to a therapeutic level, they're going to have you come back in 3 months to check labs on you and see how it's doing in your system, right? Same with medication and your supplements. It takes time for you to see major benefits in regards to health changes. Now, you may notice something in the first couple of weeks of taking it. I wouldn't be surprised by that. But when we're talking about if you have, let's just say eczema, you have eczema for 17 years, don't expect that to go away in 3 months. That's something. I have a friend of mine who's been taking the supplements now for over a year, and she's finally getting to the point where she just has flare-ups. She doesn't have eczema all the time. But that's a huge change for her since she's had it, since she's been a teenager. Like, that's massive, you guys. So hear me when I say we're not here promoting magic potions. We're here promoting good, healthy nutrition that your body is saying that it needs. Different things like headaches, allergies, obviously gut issues, rheumatoid arthritis, autoimmune issues, all of those things can be targeted with gut care. And it is powerful to see the changes in people once they trust the system and allow it to work. The other thing that I like to make sure people know too is that when you're taking medications, you don't just stop taking your medications all of a sudden, right? So we always do better in anything we do in life when we're consistent on them. So if you're on the supplements and you're already taking them, but you're finding a problem being consistent with them, contact your ambassador that connected with you and have them help you with accountability and taking those. I have a system set up with a lot of my customers to help them the first few weeks. I ask them what time they want to take their supplements. I put it into a reminder in my text messages, and they get a reminder 3 times a day to when to take their BioCleanse, when to take their Slim, and when to take their ProBio 5. And that is how, after having that come out your phone for 2.5 weeks, you typically get in a pretty good routine and you remember to take your stuff. But starting new habits is really hard. The other thing that I really love about our community here is that we have a system called Plexus Pivotal, and it basically is what rounds out the heart of Plexus. So Plexus is a gut health company. They specialize in gut health. You won't find anything else in this company. They don't branch out like a lot of different companies do. They stay true to whatever it is that's going to benefit the gut. Their heart is to connect with gut health, and they do a phenomenal job with it. And I'm very proud of them for not branching out into other things. The thing that they know that they have to partner with too is gut health can't just completely cure you of everything, right? It's not going to 100% fix your stuff. So what they have done is they've hired nutritionalists and actually fitness pros to be able to do our pivotal program, which is an app. You get the Plexus Go app and you log in. It reminds you to take your supplements, but it also has access to daily meal plans every week, and it changes every week. And they're healthy, family friendly meal plans. My family ate 3 of them last week, and they loved 2 of them. One of them was not a great hit for them, but I liked it. They did not, but it's fine. We can pivot, right? But they have great options for healthy food. The other thing that they have that I really love is they have their Plexus Pivotal workout routines, and their home workouts. You do them from the comfort of your own home. They take like 10 to 20 minutes a day, and they're phenomenal because Plexus knows that supplements is just one part of the triangle of taking care of you. And their heart is to take care of you. And so when you're thinking, what else do I need to do aside from taking my supplements, Julia? I would say get into your Plexus Pivotal, look at the grocery list for the week, go and change the health habits in your family. Be an example, step up and go and change the health habits in your family and start working out together. You could do those as a family and it would be phenomenal. But if you don't start with you and you don't start as the one being the example, your family won't follow in their footsteps. We can make food for our family, and if they see us eating something else, they're just going to start eating what we're eating. I could literally tell my child for years to go out and run 4 laps. Over time, she's not going to stick with it. She may do it for a while because she thinks she's going to get punished if she doesn't do what I say or something like that. But unless I'm being an example and I'm doing it myself, they're not going to do it either. So you guys, we have to remember as moms, as parents, as friends, bringing along our friends is like one of the best things we can do. Bringing along our family is even better. And your family is who's going to follow you and follow in your footsteps. And those are the ones we are leading. The last thing I'm going to talk about tonight is our referral program. It is phenomenal and it blesses my heart so much. With our referral program, honestly, it is so simple as to getting 4 or 5 friends and saying, hey, I'm going to do a gut health challenge. Do you want to do it with me? Most people, you would be shocked at how many people don't take care of their gut and have a lot of symptoms that the gut health supplements can help and fix as well. We all know of people who can use these products. I personally think every single person should be on them. One of the biggest blessings, obviously taking Plexus, I've come completely off of my heartburn medication. I've been off of it for well over a year now. It took me about 3 or 4 months to get off of that. I feel so much better. But the biggest blessing I can say is the community and the referral program that this company has. I've been able to replace my nursing income with working Plexus. And I work Plexus, I would say, on a fairly part-time basis. I mean, I don't by any means commit 8 hours a day to it. So there's that. But I am very committed to helping people change their health because I see and I know and I feel how powerful it is myself. And so I think to myself, why would I keep that to myself? If I know that I have something that can truly help people, I will 100% share for the rest of my life with that. And that is something that I appreciate because Plexus, they will give you referral bonuses or they'll give you cash for that. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to partner with such a generous company, as well as a community that loves the Lord. My biggest prayer from as long as I could remember, from I would say, oh gosh, what is it like? Maybe high school. I would always pray that the Lord would use me in mighty ways, and for a long time, He was going to use me as being a mom. And for a while, that's 100% it, right? There are certain times in our lives where our kids are it, and that's okay. But at some point in time, also, we get to the point where God wants to use us bigger than that. And Plexus has been a huge avenue to help me achieve that in so many levels with helping other people and bring people into a community that is Christ centered. And that's been one of the biggest blessings that I could never, ever, ever um, just throw away. Like, that's such a great opportunity. And to be able to shine the light of Christ into people through their health is one of the biggest answers to my own prayer. So, I appreciate you guys being on here with me tonight. Thank you for listening to my testimony. If you guys have questions, or if you have somebody who invited you to this tonight that got you on here or shared this with you, please comment, or not comment, but send them back a message and ask them your questions. Get your questions answered because we want to get you feeling better. So thank you guys. We'll see you later.